Okay, problem with doing projects like this is it all sounds good on paper, but then you get into the little projects that take forever. Like instance, we're putting this thing on here, a little cheap add-on, no big deal, right? But you still got to paint it, you got to prep it and all that stuff. Beyond that, then this cable wants to rub on it. Well, if you're gonna paint it, you don't want that thing rubbing on there. So I had to make this bracket. It's gonna bolt in here like that, and then it'll retain this cable. But you can't just put a loop around it because you gotta be able to get it off and on. So you gotta do something like this to get it. You know, you gotta leave it open so you can get it in and out of there. Anyway, so I'm gonna put this sucker in here and see how that works out. Then the throttle cable's the same thing, but I've seen online where they make a little clip for that goes right here that will hold those lines in place. I cannot find a part number for it or anybody that's selling it, but I know they're out there. So I'm hoping that can happen, because this is going to rub here too. It's not so bad going straight, but when you're going down, when you go to turn it, like in a parking lot or something, it's going to be an issue. So just one of the many little side projects that have to happen. I'm supposed to relocate the boost gauge around here somewhere, and then we're putting a shift light in there just for the hell of it, just for the fun of it. But that's going to be the last on my list. I got a lot of other things to do, and I got a lot of other issues going on personally. So anyway, this is it. I'm in here early this morning trying to get something done. Okay, so here's the finished product of the cable retention, the clutch cable. So I've got this piece up here where you can route the wire through this hole, so you can remove this bracket if you need to. A couple of mounting bolts, and then this piece guides the top of the wire. The problem I was having is the bottom is still like to move around, even though I pulled it in. This mainly pulls it inside of the cowl, and then this holds it from rubbing the edge of it. The only issue is, so this is extended about 3 3/4 inches, and then this just kind of leaves it open so it can move around. There's still a slight issue when you turn it all the way to the left. The cable hits this turn signal, and it will still push up and just touch the edge of it, but it's pretty damn good. And I think, who knows, maybe these don't stay, but because they're kind of screwed up, and I haven't been able to talk them into replacing those yet. So whatever, it's pretty damn good, and it looks pretty cool considering what it is. And they make, you know, like wire ones like this for guiding cables on other setups, but I just needed something for this. I wanted to get that done before I went ahead and started body working the cowl instead, in case I had to do something there. But on the cowl, I did notice that when it goes on here, in order to get it to hit the headlight right, I had to raise up. I had to put like a little, that's probably a 1/2 inch spacer on top of that rubber one there. So because I also initially this thing was installed without these spacers, and the instructions call for that, and that they need to be there because this is a curved surface and you're trying to bolt something flat to it, which doesn't work. So everything works out. It lines up good, looks good, it's got room. So I'm gonna go with that. And then we went on to the front fender, which the one I had fabricated was for the stock tire. Well, this is a 110, and I don't know if it's just this tire or all 110s, but this thing's a lot bigger than the factory 19-inch tire, which I think is a 100. And I know I sold tires for 4 years. I know how sizing works, but some tires are just bigger than others, even though they're the same size sometimes. But this thing really sticks out right here. So with the fender that I had, it was too short because I had shortened it for a regular 19-inch tire, which is much shorter. This is a taller and wider tire, so the fitment through here is really nice. Actually works good, although the tire being wider, it sticks out past the freaking fender, but not much you can do there. So I ended up buying, this is like a $65 cheapie off of Amazon, and because I know I wouldn't get anybody to go for an OEM on this, although they are better. And in order to get a little more clearance through here, me and Ron had to put this in a press and bend out here and bend down just to get it to clear this little edge. You get a few, there's like 150 thousandths in between there, so we've got plenty of clearance there, and it allows for me, I put this washer in here. This is to simulate the little spacer that I put in here to keep it off of the paint. So I really wanted to make sure I could do that, because maybe I'm doing something wrong, but my paint likes to come off whenever you squeeze it up tight. When you build up, maybe I'm building up too many layers or something, I don't know. But anyway, it works for me, and I can sleep at night knowing that I got that thing on there. So we've widened that. The only issue with this cheap fender now is these rivets really, like, there's a gap underneath there. They really stick up proud. So what I may end up having to do is weld it underneath, get it welded in place, and then zip these, like grind these down flat, drill them out, and then fill these holes so that it's held in place. And actually the problem with these rivets is, man, they're a pain in the ass to body work. You can take the real crown off of them, and then they're easier, but a lot of times you get primer, paint, anything on here, as soon as you run a piece of sandpaper across there, it just cuts right into the metal, and then you're down to bare metal, and that's just a no-no anytime you go and putting more material on top of anything. So they are a pain. You've got to be real careful with them. So if I can remove them, maybe it'll make my life easier, but as long as I don't run into trouble trying to fill them, which I shouldn't, but it's just one more thing. So anyway, me and Ron got this thing straightened out, and then I got a late Christmas present from Ron, a very nice Motion Pro air pressure gauge. I've got some other ones just for motorcycles, but they're cheaper ones and they're not accurate. So this thing is like the cat's ass. It's supposed to be the best and most accurate. It's liquid filled and it weighs like 5 pounds. Anyway, so, and I know it's expensive, that's why I don't have one, but Ron got it for me. That's cool. So we're getting along here. I've got the shocks on it and they're spaced properly, and we went and we had a belt. I even bought a cheap Amazon belt for this thing, and this is how I am. Right or wrong, I wouldn't put it on there because it looked like it looked like it came for a piece of equipment, like maybe an air compressor or something. It didn't have near the rigidity of a factory belt, and I told him if this is what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go with a factory belt. I feel better with this one. So he sent the other one back. So it is what it is. It doesn't look terrible. I just, you know, anytime I've got something apart, I put a new belt on it. But when you're working on Softails, it takes you like 4 hours to do a belt on a bike. This one takes you like 15 minutes. So this will be much easier to replace down the road. All you gotta do is take this shock off, and bada boom, bada bing, you can put this belt on. Especially since I've removed everything here, all you really have to do is unbolt the exhaust from this side to slide the frickin' belt in there. It's pretty sweet. Sportsters are nice that way. So we're on to the front fender, and we're getting to where we can start body working stuff. And I'm really pressing hard because, man, Daytona's coming up quick. So I'm trying to spend time where I really need to. I want the paint done. It's just got to be done. So I'm working towards that. We've got to bleed the back brakes, and I need brake pads for it yet. Everything's fitting though. The back wheel is money now, since I had some issues with spacing on it. It was just like 100 thousandths, a big gap back here, like 100 thou over the factory setup. It's good here, so I knew on the left side it's fine. And then, but over here, just this spacer just needed, I think this wheel might be just slightly narrower inside. So we had to put, I took the washer off of the axle, and then it was exactly 100 thousandths. So we stuck that in there, and we're just gonna get a new one for the other side, and then this works out perfectly. So the belt lines up dead nuts, and it actually brought it in just slightly. So that rides like right in the middle of that pulley. So I'm pretty excited that this thing worked out. And then the spacing, before that spacer, the spacing here was just off a little bit. As soon as we put that thing in there, bada boom, bada bing, it's dead nuts now. So I really like that. And this fender, since it's inset, because it's a fat boy fender, it's made for like a 130 tire really. And I know that because I had the exact same one on my bike. And so it's narrower than the factory one. So this tire really needs to be in the middle, because I think this is a 160, and you get really close, man. I mean, like, it's like right on the edge. So the more centered we get that thing, the better off we're going to be on that. So I'm happy that that's come around. Okay, one other thing as far as what we're doing panel wise on this bike. Originally, he had this cowl on here, or you could also call it the oil catcher for whenever you change the oil on the bike. All the oil from the filter, as everybody hates this about Harleys, but all the oil when you change the filter on that goes right into here. And as you can see, there's still oil in it. That holds it, probably a quart. Anyway, so I was gonna run this cowl on here. It looks okay. I thought maybe with the, that's a chin spoiler, I'm sorry. I was gonna run the cowl up here and that chin spoiler. I thought it gets kind of a cohesive look, but I was kind of back and forth on it, as with the front fender. And the thing about the front fender is, I think it looks cool without it too, but in reality, the front fender looks great when you're running without it. As soon as you get some moisture on the road, then you're like, man, it'd be nice to have a front fender. So, hey, you can take it off if you want. The cowl, or the chin spoiler here, the issue I have with this, I was looking at this last night, and as you see the front of that thing, look at how that thing is just beat to hell. And then underneath, you can see it just gets beat up. Now, I know that when I put this thing on the lift, I even hit the bottom of this thing. And it's got lower shocks now. I don't know this. It's got a bigger front tire on it. It might have brought up a little bit. I don't know. But I don't want to spend a bunch of time painting this thing for a part that's going to get beat up, that I'm going to worry about, and that I'm not really sure if it looks better with it, you know? So at this point, I may change my mind, but at this point, I'm leaving that thing off, because I just don't see it surviving. And I know when he loads this bike into he's got a toy hauler, and when they load it in there, you have to lift up the back wheel to clear it, to clear the bend in the ramp. And, you know, when you're by yourself, sometimes you don't have a choice there. So I really don't want to just be beating the hell out of that thing, and then it's an eyesore, and really it just picks up everything from the bottom of the tire. It's going to hit that thing. I mean, you could put some 3M film on there and whatnot, but I don't think that's going to save it. you know, look at the gouges on this thing. I just don't see it surviving. So worst case, you could paint it black, you know, and it just kind of blends in with the body, you know. That might be an option, but I'm not gonna spend hours on it, body working it, painting it, putting the graphic on there, because it would get a little stripe on the bottom, and then only to see it slowly get destroyed. So that's where I'm at with it, and I think it'd be fine without it. So anyway, that's the story with that thing. And then so it's just odds and ends, but I want to get the bike in primer, get it body work, get it in primer, so that primer can cure for a few days, and because those things take time. So I've got to get on the metal, get this front fender going, and then we're gonna get on to getting some body filler on the back fender, because as this bare metal stuff sits around, it's gonna rust on me. So I do need to get on getting something on the metal of that thing. So, but get this front fender done tonight, hopefully, and then on to bigger and better things. John's gay.